Again, a change of pace. I will go
Sure.
back to a little bit questioning on your management philosophy.
Mm,
And so as you move from dev to lead to a manager, going from a big company to a very big company, Microsoft. So what I want to know, when a dev get promoted to dev lead, now its role is a new role. And what he should change about himself to be successful being a lead, which is M1, first level of manager. So it's two-pronged question. And the second part is when he becomes M2, when he becomes manager of managers, their manager. And both of these changes bring a lot of change in you to be successful in this new role. So I want to hear from you because you went through this journey and what you learn and what are your advices for people who is becoming dev lead and then who are becoming dev manager.
one of the things I struggled with was not wanting to tell them how to write the software, because I was in their shoes yesterday, right? I just got promoted to a dev lead and I'm in a planning meeting, and part of me just wants to tell them how to do this stuff, right? And I had to take a step back and stop doing that, because for the younger people, sometimes the best way to learn is to make the mistake, because you'll remember it. If you don't, again, the consequences, if you never do it. I learn more when I fail to get something right than I do if I got it right on the first time. And what I needed to do is allow my team that opportunity, not only to fail, but to experiment and think differently than me. Because if I just keep telling them how to do it, I'm squashing all this innovation that could be happening, these different ways of thinking, because they respect me because I'm their manager and I tell them to do this, so they're just going to do that. And I have just robbed them of the opportunity to learn, to experiment, and potentially come up with a better idea than my own. So what I had to learn how to do is just not force my opinion on the team and wait till they came to me where they were stuck or needed my advice, but not constantly offering my advice to people when I was an M1. Same thing when I was a Scrum Master, which is where I kind of got the first taste of that, where I'm now running this team and I was a developer, but I'm trying to tell the team how long stuff should take. It's even worse, right? I'm not only telling you how to write it, but I'm telling you what your estimate should be, right? I made a lot of big mistakes that way when I was younger. And I just learned the hard way that I had to step back. I had to relinquish some control. And when I learned to delegate, like, so much more stuff got done because I'm no longer the bottleneck either, right? So it's very uncomfortable though at first. And what I realized as a manager, my whole goal was much like a Scrum Master. It's to remove any impediments or blockers in front of the people that are working for me or that report to me. So in my one-on-ones, I'd be like, what's stopping you? What do you need me to go? Like, we used to joke that Hulk smash. Like, what do you need me to go move out of your way so that you can go be productive? That's my job as your manager right now. Now, if you want to come and geek out on tech and ask me questions about something, love to do that too. But my first priority is making you successful by removing anything in your way. And so I think as an M1, that was really important. When I got to an M2, that changed a little bit, because now I'm trying to teach that group of managers how to remove barriers for their people. And then if they couldn't, then how do I lean in and add some of my authority or some of my weight to clear some of those impediments for their people? But it's a different level of conversations. But the philosophy that I had as a manager was always be the manager I've always wanted. So whenever I was in a situation, I'd say to myself, if I was in that person's shoes right now, like, what would I want my manager to do to me? If I had the greatest manager, what would I want them to do for me right now? And what was really good for me at Microsoft is I had great examples before that, because I had been in some of their situations before, and I had great managers prior who would drop everything or move a mountain or just spend quality time with me and just listen to me. And I remember I was having a really rough time at Microsoft, and I had to reach out to my skip level, which was Charlotte at the time, and she dropped everything and sat down and met with me and got me where I needed to go. And I remember, fast forward a year, and I get a frantic IM from one of my skip levels, the person who reports to a manager of my people. And I was like, wow, reminds me of the situation that I had, my own personal situation. Cleared my calendar, dropped what I was doing, got to the office and had a one-on-one with that person and set them down, because I said, this is what one of the best managers I've ever had has done for me. So I'm going to do that for my people too. There's a caveat there though. Being the manager that you've always wanted isn't the manager that all your people have always wanted. Right. Sure. And I learned that. So I've had a couple scenarios where my management style just didn't fit. And at some point I tried morphing myself and changing my behavior. And then I realized that this is taking away some of the things that make Donovan Donovan, right? There's a reason that a lot of the people that I've gravitated towards me are here and very successful. And for me to try to contort myself to fit this exception or outlier to that collective way of thinking, it was doing a disjustice to both of us, right? I was never going to be able to be the manager that you wanted. You and I were never going to be able to see eye to eye because we're not like-minded in that way. And I want to be very careful. I'm not saying lack diversity on your team. I still have a very diverse team, but we were like-minded. What I mean by that is we always wanted to be the best. We were all striving towards, but we didn't agree on everything. And that's what made us great, is the fact that we didn't agree, and that we had different perspectives and different life experiences that we could bring to a particular problem and find out. But if you didn't want to be the best, if just being good enough was good enough for you, I'm not the manager for you, right? Because I won't accept that. And you and I are going to constantly be at odds because that's just not who Donovan Brown is. I want to be the best at what I do. I want to make my team the best team that they can be. And I like that competitive drive that people have that just makes them want to be a winner. I love that. And those are the type of people that I'm really good at managing. So I think you need to identify that as well. I honestly don't think there's a person who can be a good manager to everyone, because everyone is different and everyone needs something else. What you're going to do, and it's something you need to be very careful about, is you are going to have people gravitate to you that are like you, but you still need to strive to have a diverse group of people on your team. And I specifically hired people who knew stuff I didn't know. That's how I got the diversity. When I built my first team, I didn't go out and hire 4 more Donovan Browns that knew what Donovan knew, because we don't need that. You already have me. I already know what I know. What I hired was a person who knew Linux that I didn't know. I hired a person who knew infrastructure like I didn't know. I talked to a person who knew process better than I knew process. Collectively, we were a much better unit than any one of us was individually. So I did not go hire replicas of myself. I wanted that diverse perspective. However, we were all go-getters. We all wanted to be the best. We were dubbed the league by the industry. Like, this is a team that, like, these are good people who will not settle for just being good enough. And so that's what I mean. Like-minded, but diverse. And it can be tricky to get that. And people who want to be led the way that you're going to lead is important to identify them. And as quickly as you can identify those are the outliers that don't fit, find them a happy home inside of Microsoft, right? Because there are managers out there that are probably going to be much better for them, and everyone's going to be better off because they're going to be happier. And if they're happier, they're going to be producing higher quality software for Microsoft, which is good for Microsoft as a whole. But I learned very early on that I can only bend myself so far before I don't even want to be a manager anymore, because I'm trying to be so different for so many people that it wasn't benefiting anyone at that point.
Right. So no, that's a very key point which you said. I think a lot of people miss that. The key point you said was that you want to be a manager, who can manage certain kind of people. And if they are not there, maybe you're not the right manager for them.
Correct.
And a lot of people think the other way around. Maybe they are not the right employee or the right report. And so, so if you came across this kind of person who is reporting to you but not reaching to your quality bar as such, do you have any tools or tricks to elevate him, help him out, or you say, okay, looks like it's not working, and you find him a new home?
So I've only had to do it twice. Where I found new homes for people that were a better fit for them, because we had gone around and around, and it becomes pretty obvious that they're dreading the one-on-one. You're really not looking forward to the one-on-one with them, because it's just like, man, this is going to be a tough meeting. Or they keep delivering things to you that just aren't meeting your expectations. And no matter how many times you push it back or you explain what you want done differently, it just never makes it there. Then you realize there's either a disconnect in the way that we're communicating. And I have executive coaches that I work with to help me through some of this stuff. So if you're fortunate enough to have an executive coach, lean on them. Mine has just been instrumental. So again, back to mentorship. It's been amazing for when I'm struggling with an employee. I can come to him and get an outside perspective on, well, why have you tried this? Maybe this is another way you can approach that particular problem. And then I can go back and try that. And when all else fails, it's like, okay, let's just let's just agree that where would you be more happy? And then how can I leverage who I am at Microsoft to make sure that you can have a nice, safe home in that other organization? So I'll make introductions. I'll show all the great work that they've done and explain to them that I think they'll just be a better fit in your organization for X, Y, and Z. One of the people I promoted to be my peer, right? It's just like, okay, this isn't working. Like this relationship is not working for us. We're constantly butting heads, or just we're okay for a month and then we're not okay for a month. Like this isn't healthy for either one of us. Went to my manager and said, okay, they're not happy. Right. And I think something based on it, I had a career discussion with them. I said, based on our career discussion, I think this might be a really good move for them. Are you open to it? And obviously my manager was like, of course, whatever's best for them, which is what your manager should always say. And I believe that it was, and we approached that person and offered them that opportunity, and they were ecstatic with that opportunity and they took it. Right. So I never want to have to fire someone, and I've never had to fire someone. But I do understand that not everyone is going to be able to work for Donovan Brown. As a manager at Microsoft, our goal is to attract and retain talent. Retain does not mean report to Donovan. Retain to me means still working at Microsoft. So as long as you're still working at Microsoft, I feel that I've succeeded as a manager. And that's what I try to do, make sure everyone loves working at Microsoft as much as I do. I adore working for this company. And if you're not adoring your job, then I feel like I need to go get you somewhere where you're just going to love waking up every morning and proud to be doing the work that you're doing. If that's not for me, that's okay. My feelings aren't hurt. I just want you happy. And you're clearly not happy. So that's a gut, again. Be the manager you've always wanted, and make sure that your people feel happy and supported, even if that means not working for you. I never felt the need to build a big organization and mine, and don't let them leave because I want more people. It's like, no, I want the best people around me, and the best people around me are going to be happy. So if you're not happy, you're not going to be the best that you can be, and you need to go somewhere and go be happy.